Okay, so let's talk about this. Most of my content writers, especially if you're offshore, spend way too much time in this vicious content production cycle. You create, you create, you create, you create, you create, only to get to the end of that client relationship to be fired. And I say this because I've done that. I fired someone that worked offshore. And I know that sounds really mean, but I have to be transparent with you because these are the conversations that are happening on the back end that you may have no idea about. And the reason why I fired that client, especially that offshore client or the offshore vendor for my content services, for my marketing services, was not because they didn't have excellent rates, wasn't because they weren't producing enough content. It was because at the end of the day, I could not justify what they were spending, what I was spending on them versus what I could do from a tool. So back in the day, back in the pre-open source ChatGPT days, you could, so back in the day, you could spend time and time and time and time again writing really great articles. And because there was no way to really shorten that cycle, you could get away with the rates that you wanted because it was a lot of work if you tried to do it. But now at the click of a button, I can have a 30 to 40% written article, a decent article that can do a better job than most humans at a flat fee. And I can do that over and over and over and over again. So basically what I'm saying is it's a race to the bottom. And I hate to use those cliche terms like it's a race, because everybody starts somewhere. You have to start somewhere whenever you're starting out. But once you have two clients, one good client, and you're constantly producing work, you need to be assessing a couple of different things that we'll talk about towards the end. So stick to the end so you can get those benefits. But I want to walk you through a really quick story. So I had a writer friend, a phenomenal writer friend. He started off at 23 years old. He went to school for writing, okay? He figured out that that wasn't what he wanted to do, and so he quickly jumped into content marketing. And this was probably back in 2020. And so he's working his way up. He finally gets hired on Upwork, and he wants his rate to be $20 an hour, but the person is like, no, you can't do $20 an hour. I can only do 10, 15 to start. Then I'll see if I can work you up to 20 if you produce enough good quality work for me. And that person was like, okay, let's get started. Long story short, it took them a year to develop a tight process. I mean, everything that this manager was throwing at my friend, he did with excellence. He did the deliverables better than whatever training he needed to take, he took it. Whatever it was to be better than the market, to do more quality work than what everyone else was producing on the team, and to be within a reasonable budget, he did. And so fast forward, you know what he earned? 4 times the national average, the national salary at 20, like maybe 3 or 4 years old. So what I'm telling you guys is, and this is an offshore writer in Kenya, okay? So what I'm telling you guys is not a fable. If you are able to provide more value than a tool, then a person is going to hire you not because you're producing content. That game is over. AI is taking that game to a new low level. But that person is going to hire you because you are more business impactful. I'm serious about it. You're more business impactful than every tool out there in 90% of writers, okay? So a few things that I want you to understand, especially about this content writing space, is this. If you're an offshore writer, there's a thing called geofencing, meaning it's a algorithmic bubble based on your location. So if you're in the Philippines, if you're in Africa, you're not going to know everything about a certain market because you're not there geographically. So you are going to be fenced out of certain knowledge capabilities. So you taking a class or a course, or you learning from people that are in your location, unless they service clients that are US based or that pay the most, that's probably not the most effective use of your time, okay? So let's just get into a couple of quick things because I'm going into it anyway. Let's get into a couple of quick things of how you can separate yourself and how my friend separated himself and now is out earning, outgrowing most of the people at such a young age in this country, okay? Number one, you have to eat your boss's frog. You need to know what your boss cares about, and that needs to be your end goal. So if your boss cares about content writing at a certain rate, at a certain production that gives him X value that he can display to his boss so he can look good, your bottom line is not content writing. That's step one. Your top tier goal should be his goals, okay? So you put his goals above yours, you are going to win every single time. That means asking for, taking the right courses, upskilling yourself, becoming better than the market. Number two, always be thinking profit and loss. I mean, you pay bills at home, you're an adult, so you can do this. You know how much comes in, you know how much goes out, and you know the comfort level that you feel when it's higher or lower, okay? It's the same way your boss feels whenever he has a budget. So remember profit and loss and be a part of that profit piece, okay? If you don't know how, stick to the end, I'll show you how you can do this. And number three, get the right knowledge base. Once again, if you're in an offshore country, you need to understand, and you service U.S. markets, you need to understand U.S. markets better than U.S. content writers, because that's what you're being graded against. So if you're not working on your skill set and you're not comparing your work to a US writer, then you're really just playing, once again, a race to the bottom. So those are the 3 steps that you can take. And number 4, you should definitely, if you have the spare income, enroll for my course, okay? This is not your typical training curriculum. This is a curriculum that we use right now to generate hundreds of thousands of dollars, millions of dollars for our clients. So our writers do 60 to 40% of the SEO work, and they're constantly getting paid more and more and more because they're ahead of the curve and they're more valuable to me, meaning they're more valuable to our clients. So this is a course that you want to take, and here's the caveat. The reason why you want to get into it now is quite frankly because time. The more you know about SEO, the more SEO knowledge spreads, the more it decreases in cost and decreases in value. So you want to know everything as early as possible, and you want to be an early mover and not a late mover because you'll get paid more. And so that's the beauty of this course is, no, this is not a fluff course. This is a course that we're using every single day to generate results for our clients. So that's it for now. I hope that helps.